How to use the periodic table to find the electronic configuration of the first 20 element in the table. Remember that the periodic tables has the element arranged in order of the increase in their atomic number. They have been split into periods, which are the rows where we have period 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so on, and groups, which are the columns, and in each group the elements within the same group will have the same number of outer electrons or the same number of electrons in the outermost shell of electrons. So group 1 elements will all have one electron in their outermost shell. Group 2 elements will have two electrons in their outermost shell. And then, yes, you know, group 3 has 3, group 4 has 4 electrons, and so on until we reach group 0 elements where they have the full electronic shell. And the group 0 elements will all have full electron shell. So the first element of these is helium, will have only 2 electrons, but all the other elements in the group 0 will have 8 electrons in their outermost shell. So the periods as well can be used because each period or all the elements within a certain period will have the same number of electron shells. So group the period 1, these elements in period 1 all have only one electron shell. Group the period 2, they will have two electron shells, and so on. So we can use the periodic table to find the electronic configuration of any of the first 20 elements by looking at its position in terms of the period and the group. So let's have some examples. So let's see, for example, nitrogen. So let's look at the period and the group of nitrogen. Nitrogen can be found in period 2, which means nitrogen has only 2 electron shells, and we can find it in group 5, which means it has 5 electrons in the outer shell. Remember that all the innermost shells will have complete number of electrons, and the maximum number of electrons is 2 for the first shell, 8 for the second shell, and 8 for the third shell. So the electronic configuration of nitrogen will be 2 and 5 because it only has 2 electron shells and 5 electrons in the most electron shell. And remember that the first electron shell has a maximum of 2. So another example is silicon. So this is silicon. Without even looking at the atomic number of silicon, based on its place in the periodic table, we can find that silicon, we can find it in period 3, which means it has 3 electron shells, and it's in group 4, which means it has 4 electrons in the outer shell. So the electronic configuration of silicon must have 3 electron shells. The first 2 will be complete, and the third one, which is the outermost shell, has a maximum of 4 electrons now because it's in group 4. Another example is calcium. Calcium here, we can look at calcium. Let's find where we can find it. So it's in period 4. So there are 4 electron shells. And it's in group 2, which means 2 electrons in the outer shell. So the electronic configuration of calcium must have 4 different shells of electrons. The first 3 have to be complete, so 2, 8, 8, and then the outer shell must have only 2 electrons because we can find it in group 2. So the electronic configuration of calcium is 2, 8, 8, 2.